Yeah, so um, all right, folks. So, welcome to our webinar on how to achieve performance excellence. And it is part of our series of webinars on performance excellence. The agenda for today is very straightforward. I'll do a quick introduction, which is right now. I'm just going to do a brief introduction for about 2 minutes. Then I'm going to hand it over to our speakers, who's going to do formal presentation for about 20 minutes and then Q&A for about 8 to 10 minutes. And for me, the best part is a Q&A where attendees can ask questions directly to our speakers. So that's the agenda for today. And speakers, before I start our presentations, can you guys hear me well and good? If you can
Yes.
say yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So I'm just gonna do a brief introduction about implementation engineers who have been in the performance excellence company. And basically IE, which is implementation engineer, we partner with visionary leaders at organizations looking for sustainable operating income impact. um, Basically over the years, and you can check us more at implementation.com, but the company has delivered long-term EBITDA growth for our clients in a variety of industries. So again, it's implementation.com, and check out the different resources that we have. One of the resources that I really encourage everyone on this video webinar to look at is the white papers and the ebooks that are produced around performance excellence, asset management, and various other topics. Again, great free resources, and it's at implementation.com. So, really excited to basically introduce you to two great speakers today. One of our first speaker, our guest speaker, is Troy Lacron. Troy, welcome. Troy is Vice President Operations, and I know, Troy, you bring a huge amount of experience, consistent with your background, and you've worked in many industries, including automotive, defense, commercial, motion and control technologies, and food industries. I'm not gonna read all of it because your bio is, I can spend another 30 minutes. But welcome. Looking forward to listening to you and to hearing your insights. So welcome and looking forward to it. And the other speaker, our main speaker, is Bob Zadell. And Bob, as many of you may know, is the president and COO at Implementation Engineers. And Bob, again, has been in the industry for 30 plus years, working in a variety of different industries, as you can see on your screen. But I think Bob is actually passionate, and he is instrumental in developing Six Sigma approach, and obviously he's a leader today at Implementation, and you will learn more about it. So Bob, as always, honored and welcome on the webinar. I'm going to hand it over to you, and really looking forward to the your presentation, and I'll be back to take questions and answers. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob. I appreciate that. A little clarity around performance excellence. I want to stress, what we deliver to our clients. Essentially, performance excellence is ensuring that you get consistent, predictable results, not only for your business, also for your employees, which I'll touch on in just a little bit, as well as ultimately your clients and stakeholders. And a big driver to performance excellence is what we call operational excellence and continuous improvement. And that's something that Troy plans to talk a little bit today about, and how he's implemented that in companies. So to start with, we're going to revisit expected results and what executives, when we have the opportunity to talk to executives, and we talk to several, and some of the things they expect. And then I'm going to review real quickly what the proven methodologies are here at IE in implementing or installing a performance excellence environment, which includes operational excellence. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Troy, and he's going to share some of his experiences in the various industries he's been in. So if we jump right over to the to some of the expected results, the first thing that I'm going to go to the next slide. The first thing that leaders see or expect is financial results. So typically when we initially engage with leaders, that will be one of the first things they'll ask about. And then of course, the last bullet there is the speed. They want to do it faster than they currently do today. And oftentimes what happens is they typically have a program in place that's maybe not going as fast as it should, or maybe not getting the results. The next thing they always ask about though is sustainability. And the challenge with sustainability, it really comes down to, how am I going to make sure that after you guys leave that you leave us with something? So in doing that, first thing is it's about people. 80% of this implementation is about making sure that the people change as part of these engagements. Ensuring that they have more knowledge along the way, making sure that they have more confidence, that they have an environment that they can actually do operational excellence in. And the other piece to the environment, and as I mentioned earlier when I said performance excellence and consistency, making sure that they don't operate in a reactive environment, because that tends to burn people out and it's not long lasting. And a lot of times when we start with clients, that's essentially where they're at, and leaders see that, and we want to make sure we change. The other thing that's important in this process is to make sure that we have better processes in the end. A lot of times the chaos and reaction is due to poor processes. So we try our best to try to improve those. And then of course the other thing that's critical is just ensuring that they have better technology and better systems. And what I mean by that, because these solutions are often 80% driven, it's also important to make sure that you're left with some kind of a management system, a good way to see real-time data and to support that. And Troy's going to touch on that a little bit today as we go through our industry example. The next thing is just to review real quickly on what works during these implementations. The first thing is we need to understand why. Why are we actually doing that? What's that burning platform per se? And then once we've kind of defined that from a numerical quantitative standpoint, we want to make sure we have a clear vision, and not just a statement, but actually a vision that includes what am I going to do with my people, what am I going to do with my business, and essentially how am I going to change my systems around as part of that vision. And then that drives a strategy. And it's fundamentally just like you would run a business, but now you're actually going to support or integrate implementation, or this implementation or this performance excellence into your, into your culture. Once you set up that planning, even to the lowest level in the organization, you want to make sure you communicate that well. Oftentimes when we talk to clients, when we start with engagements, very few people know that an operational excellence program exists or continuous improvement program exists. In addition, a lot of times, a lot of the goals that the company has in terms of execution, either annually or longer term, they don't exist either. And in terms of what people see at some of the lower levels in the organization. The next thing is commitment. It's easy to get these programs started oftentimes and get everybody excited about, we're going to change and we have this burning platform, so we got to get behind it, etc. But at some point, things slow down, and that's when your leaders have to be committed and show that commitment and demonstrate that commitment on an everyday, ongoing, long-term basis. Troy will talk to that again as well today. And then, of course, none of these programs go well, so you have to have some way to essentially measure the pulse of where your program is and how it's integrated in the business, and making sure that there's a change component to that as well, and make corrections along the way. So that piece is important. And then, of course, the last thing, it does take a lot of hard work. There's no magic in this. It's actually a very committed, execution, time commitment, part of delivery and making sure that these things exist. So next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to turn it over to Troy. A couple things on Troy. I've worked with Troy for several years now. Troy's worked as a leader in automotive. He worked for Magna Corporation for several years, was instrumental in supporting their operational excellence program, as well as a leader implementing this system at sites. He's joined Parker after that. Troy was very involved in actually turning around plants and actually converting or taking them through that transition from a state of reaction to to a very, very healthy performing plant and using this system as part of it. So he'll share that. Troy's now with Fryks Meats, and I'd like to introduce Troy again and turn it over to him, and he can share some of his success stories. So Troy, thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, next. I think the next slide. Okay, here we go. Hey, it's exciting to talk on the topic today. So I'm going to spend a lot of time on the third one, which is execute, on this slide. But I want to walk you through when I'm new to a business or I'm visiting a plant or helping anyone, the three things we run through. We try to understand the current situation, where the plant's at. Secondly, we got to build a vision, a strategy. Bob touched on that. I also think there's a few other things that need to go on there. I'm going to run through those and then really execute. If we do those three things, I got some pretty simple math on the bottom there. What we want is breakthrough results, and that's what we're going to get without any exceptions. And if we do the three things, I have yet to see that there is an exception. They work in any industry, so we just got to follow those three principles. So really, the mapping the current state. First question I always ask and try to spend some time figuring out: are we stable? Are we firefighting? And one of the telling signs, are we failing to keep up with our customer demand with quality? If we're failing in either of those things, we might be firefighting. And there's a bunch of other signs along the way, but what I've learned through the years, if we're firefighting, and that's truly the mode and the situation we're in, then there's only one thing to do, and that's work to get out of that, to stabilize the operation so we can do a host of other things. So we got to understand that right up front. Understand SWOT, our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, assess our team, where are they at, who do we have, all the players, understanding the process. I spent a significant amount of time value stream mapping. There's a great book, Learning to See. If you haven't read it or learned it, it's the best tool out there for value stream mapping. And really, we just want to understand our entire process, where the waste's at, what the good things are, the bad things, so we immerse ourselves in the process. How are we leading and managing? Do we have a top-down approach where the guy in the corner office has all the answers, and once a week he pukes those on everyone and everyone works harder to try to achieve it? Or are we, empowering our folks? We look at that. Look at our systems that we have, and last but not least, evaluate how are we problem solving? Do we have Six Sigma? Do we have Lean in place? What kind of things are we doing there? So then after we've mapped the current state, the next slide, it's time to talk about building a vision, strategy, and plan. So how to build a vision. I put a don't ask me, read the books. There's a lot of material on that, so you guys don't need me to talk about it much. You can get answers elsewhere, but I'll just share two things. The elevator pitch. I learned years ago, get on the elevator in the lobby, hit the 4th floor, the door closes. You should be able to explain your vision by the time the door opens. If you can't, it's probably too complex. I learned from a gentleman, his vision was this at a very large company, and they put it in, it was quite successful. It was to be genuine, we, not I, and all in. That's all folks had to remember. If we follow those three things, good things are going to happen. And they constantly challenge themselves to adhere to that. So very simple. You could pitch that. It would pass the elevator test. Second piece of information that I love on vision is Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, and that's the hedgehog concept. What drives your economic engine? What are you deeply passionate about? And what can you be the best in the world at? So it's a good thing to bounce off what you think your vision is and ask yourself, does it fit those things? Are we doing things to be a great company? Assessing the team, you know, what seats do we have on the bus? And then after we figure out those seats, do we have people to put in them? We got to spend some time looking at that early on. And then I think next, if you advance it, build a plan around that. So we understand our vision, we understand the strategy we want to implement, and then we got to build a plan to go maximize our return on investment. So the next slide, which is really where I want to spend most of the time, is how do we execute? So if we know all that, we've done those first things, how do we execute the plan? Back to the firefighting. I think I already said it, but if we're firefighting, then I put firefighting, if you're firefighting, you have no friends. I used to have corporate people that modified my slides, and I would just put it in straight and they would make it sound good. In this case, it went in just like I said it. I don't like firefighting. And I look at Six Flags, the amusement park, the game Whack-A-Mole, where the moles pop up and you hit them. That's what firefighting is. It's you're constantly trying to whack the moles and knock them down, they pop right back up and you get nowhere. And if you walk away for 5 minutes, everything goes crazy. So if we're like that, we're just working to get out of that mode. We're working to get orders met, working on increased throughput, take care of quality issues, and nothing else really matters until we climb out of that. So if we're there, we're working to get out. We got to say we're out of that. Now we're really having some time to work on the business. We got to build the right culture. We need a culture that inspires folks to drive continuous improvement and not a threatening top-down type approach. If that's wrong, say we look at it and we go, we're doing this all wrong, we got to know where to look. And people don't really like when I say this, so I just keep saying it because I like it. Where we looks in the mirror. You know, the problem with cultures is bad leadership, and we're the leaders. So if we can't look in the mirror and see an accurate reflection, then we're never going to begin to change the culture. So most things that happen in businesses are management's fault in one way or another, and that includes me. So that's how we learn, looking in the mirror and learning what we got to change to build the right culture. Next one. We need an approach for relentless improvement and not ruthless. So it's one thing to talk about improvement, but just ask, how does the business make improvement? What are our systems, mechanisms that we're constantly improving, or does it just happen on its own? In the businesses I run, we use management standard work, which is sacred time every day set aside to work on the business cross-functionally, and we do all that in a location called the town hall. There's a video, we made a video of it actually happening, a live real town hall event here at Frykes. We run through standard work every day from 8 to 9, and we use the town hall. The town hall is all the metrics, all the communication, all the departments, cross-functional focus, all wrapped into an hour a day that we spend working on improvement. So that's how we do it. There's other ways to do it, but the point is an hour a day, every day, is working on improving the business. No matter what. Yesterday, we always say if we have a fire, we'll still do it. Yesterday, the fire alarm went off during the town hall, and we still had the town hall. So we just moved outside and get away from the fire. It really wasn't a fire, it was a false alarm, but we would have powered through if it was a fire. Embrace and deploy Lean and Six Sigma. Lean and Six Sigma is the best way to problem solve. Lean is the best way to manufacture. So we're always in pursuit of making sure we get better in those two areas. Next one. Okay, so still on execution. Fix 1,000 things and fix some big things. The big things are what gets a lot of the attention. I think when we have a project that saves $1 million, we like to talk about it. It's very obvious. It's a great thing. So we do have to do those things. I think what can be just as big, though, is fixing 1,000 little things. So, and how do you do that? Well, we have a approach where we're always doing audits every day. And not audits as a dirty word. The first thing we do in an audit is have 2 or 3 things that we can praise our folks for in every audit before we even start on the constructive criticism type side. And then we always find 2 or 3 things that we can fix or improve. In our audit system, any fix we find must be done within a week, no matter what. And if it doesn't, it graduates to a second week, and then we really turn up the heat to make sure it's done. Through that process, we fix 1,500 to 2,000 things a year. And they're little things. They're not things books are written on, but they're little, small, incremental improvements. So we want to make sure we're executing both those things, little and big. Create many people that take action daily. It's hard to do it alone. So if the top guy gets it, how do we get the next level down? And ultimately, if we're a plant with 305 people, how do we get 305 people taking action, engaged in the business, driving metrics, driving improvements? That's always the goal. So we're always recruiting, trying to make sure we're inspiring folks to get on board with what we're trying to achieve. Next one. Yeah, this one's a bit scary sometimes. And I stick to it, but sometimes I wish I hadn't learned this. Make problems highly visible. So when we make a mistake in our business, we showcase it in the town hall. We make it as visible as we possibly can. For example, if we had a quality issue, we put up a big red stop sign. You'd see it in the town hall video. So everyone knows we screwed up. If we had a bad hour, we put up a red solo cup. Means we weren't efficient that hour. So nothing is hidden. We actually highlight it, put a spotlight on it. We don't do that because we like to punish ourselves. We do that because we have to make the problems visible in order to make sure we're taking action. If we're hiding all the problems, then what are we really working on? So we want to make all problems visible so we're on top of them and make sure we take action. Never hide a problem. That drives a constant cycle of plan, do, check, act. So we're always in the planning mode. We're always doing. We're making adjustments, correcting, and then act. I used to say we would do a Kaizen on a cell, and then the following Monday it wouldn't work. And I like to say it never works. What works is that then we tweak it, we modify it, we try again on Tuesday. Wednesday we get a little better. We fight through that plan, do, check, act cycle until it works the way we want it to. Next one. People love to win. There's no question about it. A winning team is what drives fun. It's what drives a good environment. Failure is contagious, success is infectious. So when we're doing this and we're running the business this way, you'll find that people love to come to work. They love to be involved. They love to participate. And it's for no other reason than they love to feel like they're winning. If we highlight a problem and we make it visible, that's kind of the downside. But the next day, if we fixed it, we have a win. Next one. And it's all about, if you looked at all those things, what we're really trying to do with 305 engaged people that are inspired, we're trying to build momentum in our business toward continuous improvement. 2 ways to explain momentum that I learned. One is, say you have a flywheel, large metal round object on a spindle, weighs 100,000 pounds, and you got to get that thing turning. Initially, you might have to have 15 people on it to get it to move. But imagine now you have it turning and it's turning fast. Well, if you have a little disruption or a little delay, it's still turning. It has momentum. It has a lot of energy. And we're trying to do that with our organizations. The second way to think about it, and this one I enjoy more, you watch my daughter play basketball in junior high, and the first half, say it's 29-3, they're winning. and second half comes out and the other team gains momentum and they end up losing 35-30. And you ask yourself, how does that happen? It's the same players, same team, same rules of the game, but how does the second half, the other team outscore them that way and turn in a win? It's momentum. You see that often in sports. And if you imagine that same exact thing that's at play, we're trying to do in our business, and we're trying to get our folks to build that kind of momentum, because the results at that point, the way to look at it, 2 + 2 no longer equals 4. It might equal 9. And the multiplier in that, and the thing that screws up the math, is that human spirit, that inspired workforce, that all of a sudden you can do more than you thought was possible. We had a cell one time, a line, we were building about 4,000 units a day, and we had demand for about 9. And the difference was going to be made up on weekends. And we gave that problem to the team, and we ended up making around 14,000 a day. I wouldn't have thought it was possible. I had nothing in Six Sigma math or any other math I could do that got us there. But the folks inspired with momentum, they took care of the problem and exceeded anything I could have given them as a goal. So that's momentum. Next one, just some of the results. So if we do those 3 simple things that I've seen through the last 20 years, 90% reduction in scrap. 2 different times we were able to remove an entire shift because the other 2 shifts became so efficient. 80% reduction in turnover. That's actually at Frykes. Our first year, we enjoyed an 80% reduction in employee turnover. Profit, which at the end of the day, we're not a non-for-profit business. There are some. I've never been a part of one. In this business, we were 100 million in sales. We went from 2.9% profit to 19 inside about 3 years. Customer PPM, taking PPMs from almost 2,000 down to less than 10. Safety, no lost time injuries for 5 years when we were having 5 to 10 per year. Inventory reductions, efficiency 50 to 92. That was actually the example I talked about with building 4,000 and jumped up to 14. So the results are just incredible, and by following their approach, that's what I've seen. This is the link to the video. I think everyone has that. That's actually, like I said, just a live meeting of our town hall, how we go through it. One thing I want to say about the video, because I've watched it, I'm in it, and I don't have hair in that or today, so that matches. The town hall is not fancy. We don't do beautiful graphs and fancy presentations. You'll see it looks kind of sloppy. We use dry erase boards, markers. Everything's blown up. It's large. It's not about being fancy. It's about being effective and being real. And the folks you see in the video, in some cases, are hourly leads that are presenting their department. So it's not kind of an executive deal. It's a shop floor deal. And that was it for me, other than, I think, back to you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you so much, Troy. And you're right. I think, going through that video, and folks, this is the link, and we also gonna email everyone after this link so you can watch it. But you're right. I watched the whole video, and there were real people, and nothing fancy, nothing too much, staged. So it was great. I learned a lot actually just watching that video. But we have bunch of questions. So before I go into the questions, I think while listening to both Bob and Troy, one question I have is, how do you guys, as a leader who have been around for so long, doing this over and over again, how do you create a environment, if you will, the perfect environment, to basically have an employee buy-in?
I can take that. The way that I think about that is, what are we asking them to buy into? We always have to be authentic, and if we're asking 5 different employees in a U.S. plant to work really hard to move a cell to Mexico, so 2 of them get laid off, I don't know how to get people to buy into that. I think if you're doing that, it's just a top down, this is what we got to do thing. But often that's not the type thing we're working on. We're working on something that if we prevail, they prevail. We're working to stay competitive. We're working because our competition's trying to take some of our margin. So I try to find the common ground in which that the buy-in is because we're both going to prevail. We're both going to win. And we can both get excited about it. So like the one example, if can make more 9,000 a day, we won't have to work weekends. People didn't want to work weekends, so they're really excited to go after that. So, and the other way on buy-in, this is a great trick. It's not going to seem so profound. Ask them. Often, I think I know the answer, and I'll go out and ask the people, and they give me the answer, and we do that. And what I was thinking was totally off base. So you'll be shocked how folks on the shop floor have pretty good answers. You just got to get them engaged and ask the right questions. So, and then because they provided the answer, the buy-in's automatic because we're going to do what they said. So we skip that whole nasty process of the corner office guy that don't know what he's doing telling me what to do. I just circumvent it by asking.
Yeah, I think that's why the culture of collaboration has so much really took over, because we had this directives coming from the corner office many years back, and now from the past many years, it's all about collaborating because everyone has opinion and everyone has know to how to do things the other way, and no ways are wrong. There's no right or wrong. So completely agree. So this is kind of a different kind of question, but Scott here is asking, what is the difference between operational excellence and performance excellence? So where do they fit? I think it's more of a buzzword, but you guys would know better than me. So
you can take
either
that
one can take. Yeah. Bob?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so the real difference is operational excellence is really the vehicle, continuous improvement, the way you get there. I mean, that is the mechanism. Performance excellence is performing to your strategy. And it's a holistic view of the various metrics that you run your business by and achieving that excellence. So it involves actually developing the strategy and then having an operational strategy to get there in a plan. And again, operational excellence actually supports that strategy and develops the understanding what the gaps are and in the two and achieving those. So that's really the difference in the two.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Here's another question from Robert, and Robert is asking, can you please explain the importance of Six Sigma and how it can help in improving the business performance? So, I mean, it's an open-ended, but
Troy, you can take that one.
I see that as a two-part thing. One, say we have a complex problem that we haven't been able to figure out. The Six Sigma methodology of problem solving is by far the best way to solve a complex problem. But it's going through define, measure, analyze, improve, control, doing the tools, we figure it out, we can solve problems. But the other piece that is just as big as that is becoming a data-driven culture, data-driven company, where we're using data to make decisions, where we're measuring things well, where we understand data. Often I'll go into a company and they have data. It's not necessarily accurate. They don't trust the information, so they actually spend a lot of time generating data that they don't use. So what Six Sigma helps us learn is all of those things: how we have good data, actionable data, how we run the business off of it, and also it's there to help us solve problems. 80% of the time, I don't really need a full-blown project. So just some basic data tools will get us to the result that we need. And without Six Sigma, I think often companies get caught up in not having a data expert or a good data approach, and they flounder. And it seems odd that no, there's no way someone would have 5 people working on generating tons of data that no one looks at, but they do. And it's fun to point that out. It's sometimes the executives, when I used to do that, didn't really like some of the things we pointed out, but we really were just concerned, is it true? And we just want to fix that stuff so we're not wasting resources, and you know, that's how I see it.
Great, great. Bob, this could be a question for you, but you know, sometimes people go to a doctor because they think have a problem and things like that, and I'm sure the same thing works here. So, do you need to budget for OpEx programs, you know, or how have you seen companies do it?
Actually, that's a good question for Troy as well. How do you do that?
I guess I don't see what we do as a something we budget or a project or whatever else you might call it. It's a way of life. It would be like saying, do you have a building? I mean, if we have a building and we're manufacturing stuff, then this is what we do, and it's how we do it. So it wouldn't be a budget item in my world. And once we see the results, the ROI, I did have early in my career, when I learned Six Sigma, a project where we had to spend money, and we needed to fix some things that cost money, and we didn't have confidence in the return at that point because it was new. We went through that a couple of times, and then that went away. We realized the investment we're making is going to come back, but the whole continuous improvement, ops excellence type culture is just, it's a culture, it's a way we do things. It's not really a budget item.
Good. Right. So there's one last question. I know we are over time, but one last question. And this question is from Russell, and Russell is asking, which methodology do you find works best? Is it Lean or Six Sigma in order for most opportunities to improve? Thoughts?
Do you want a football player that's strong or fast? That's the answer. You need both. Lean is an outstanding way to run a manufacturing business, and all the tools are great. And Six Sigma is a great way to attack variation, solve problems, and use data the correct way. We mold both of those together. That's what Bob taught. You know, Bob was my mentor, so Bob always drilled into our head, you got to do both. We're not trying to be proficient at one or the other. If we have both, we're going to have the best results. So, and the Lean and Six Sigma guys like to argue sometimes, you know, debate whose stuff is the best, and we don't do that. We know you have to have both.
Right. Gentlemen, we got a lot more questions coming in. You know, I see that for we've getting questions around leadership. Do you want to take one last question, or how are you guys looking at the time?
I'm good.
Yeah, we should take another one.
All right, so one last question, and let's see, one last question, and then we will let you guys go. But from an outsider perspective, how does one get a buy-in, an employee buy-in, to basically change leadership in a fundamental way? I think you just spoke about, you know, I think about buy-in and things. But is there any fundamental things that you think leaders could change to get buy-in, coming from the outside?
You want to? I can take it. I mean, it's leadership, and that's sort of I teach a workshop. It's 8 hours, so to give an 8-hour answer in a couple of minutes is challenging. But it really just does come back to what I'm saying. You spend time with your people, you understand they're the experts in their job, you treat them with respect,
Yep.
you work with them. Sometimes you might be direct in a disciplinary type situation, but you're always hoping you can empower them. Let me give you a close with this. I guess it's been about 6 months ago. We had a dilemma where we had a line that was really working hard. I mean, no question, they were doing everything we could ever hope for, and they had a lot of orders against that line, so they're just trying to keep up with increased demand. We're growing, we're actually expanding here, so we're out of capacity in many cases. So this line was doing all the right things. We had another line that went down, and the decision that we had to make was to cut into the line that was doing so well to run the other line's products, which was going to put the line that was doing so well behind. And I was afraid they were going to see it like a slap in the face, that we worked so hard to get caught up, and now you're stopping us, making us change over, and we got to run someone else's problem. That was my heart on it. I'm like, and I had no answers. I'm like, well, that's what I'm going to do, and it's probably not going to go well, but you know, that's life. We got to do it. We got to get the orders met. So I brought in the line lead, an hourly line lead, and I explained the situation to him and explained how I thought people were going to feel. And he confirmed that I'm really smart. He said, "You're exactly right. It's going to be a disaster." And then the next question was, well, how would you handle it? He said, "Are you asking me to handle it?" I said, "Yeah, if you can you prevent the disaster?" He said, "I got us, no problem." And the way that he went out and explained it, I could not. And I asked him later, because everyone seemed happy. Like, oh boy, what kind of lies did we tell here? You know, I'm like, there's no way they're happy. I asked him later, I said, what did you do? I wanted to learn. And he said, all I did is tell them it'll be a break today because their product's a lot easier to run. So he told his team, today's a great day. We're getting a break. And imagine everything I avoided in terms of a crisis by asking him if he knew what to do. And that's an hourly guy. And I'm a vice president, and which one was smarter? And there's no question he was smarter. Just had to ask him.
Exactly. I think you're right. I mean, from an outside point of view, everyone has it, so there's no right or wrong. And I think that's how we see the culture of business is changing so much. But somebody just asked if you have some real examples you can share. I think was it Scott or somebody who asked on the thing. But this was a real world example. And if you want to learn more, then please go to implementation.com/resources. We have case studies of real companies where Bob and his team has gone in and made some real changes. So thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Troy, for sharing your insights. I thought this was great. Thank you, everyone, for all these beautiful, amazing questions. I think we might have missed, but please email us, call us to set up a free 30-minute consultation with one of our experts, and see you soon. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, everyone.